Donkey Kong Country. These games were my childhood. Donkey Kong Country, these games taught me a lot as a little tiny boy. Playing through these games for the first time, it's just a nostalgia trip for me that I love to remember. So today, ladies and gentlemen, we are taking another trip down memory lane as you join me for episode 2 of My History With. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your boy Patrick, and join me for episode 2 of My History with Donkey Kong Country. Of every Donkey Kong game I've ever played. Donkey Kong Country. What can I say about Donkey Kong Country? Oh dearie me, I don't know. I mean, they were my favorite games as a child. I loved and adored these games growing up as a little boy. So, if you guys remember watching my first episode of My History With, you would know how this works. But for those who are new to this concept, basically all I'm doing is I'm going to be talking over all the games that I played of a certain franchise that I like, or any games I played from the past, and maybe I'll talk about them. I'll talk about them and I'll go over the history of all the games. Did I enjoy them? Did I love those games? What did those games mean to me? I talked about Dragon Ball Z in the very first episode, running down all the Dragon Ball Z games I ever owned. So today, I'm going to be talking about one of my favorite franchises, and that is Donkey Kong Country. So I'm going to be talking about all the Donkey Kong Country games I've ever played. So another quick understanding for those who are new to this, I'll only be talking about the specific games that I've played. If there's a Donkey Kong Country game that you've played that I've never played, like Donkey Kong 64 for example, then I won't talk about it in this video because I never played Donkey Kong 64. I'm only going to be talking about the Trilogy, Donkey Kong Countries 1 to 3, and I'll also be talking about Donkey Kong Country Returns and Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, because these are the only Donkey Kong games I've ever played in my lifetime. So yeah, that's really all I gotta say. So let's not waste any more time. Let's dive right in to Donkey Kong Country. So Donkey Kong Country. Now, this wasn't the first Donkey Kong game I ever played. The first Donkey Kong game I ever played was Donkey Kong Country 2. But I'm only going to go in order here because I feel like it's only fair to do that. So, Donkey Kong Country I owned on the Game Boy. I never had the Super Nintendo version. So, as you guys know, the introduction music that you guys just heard to this video was basically from the Game Boy Advance. So, yeah, that was the Donkey Kong Country opening from the Game Boy Advance. So, I only played the Game Boy Advance version. So, Donkey Kong Country, the plot of Donkey Kong Country 1 is that the main bad guy, Captain K Rool, or King K Rool as he was originally called, he takes away all of Donkey Kong's bananas. I know that's a bit silly, like he takes away all of his bananas, all the hard work bananas he ever earned. And also, the one thing I actually appreciate about the Game Boy Advance versions, which actually has a huge advantage over the Super Nintendo versions, is that there's actually a story. So when you start the Game Boy Advance versions have these little opening cutscenes to how the story works. So if you want to play these games and understand the stories, I recommend the Game Boys. Well, only the Game Boy versions for Donkey Kong Country 1 and 2. For some reason, they don't have a story in Donkey Kong Country 3. For some reason, I don't know why. But they never did it. But Yeah. So the basic story of Donkey Kong Country is K. Rool takes all of Donkey Kong's bananas. So in the Game Boy version, Donkey Kong asks Diddy to stay up at midnight to watch over his banana hoard in case of any of K. Rool's minions try to, take away his bananas. So that's the gist of it. Diddy gets knocked out. They take all of his bananas. Cranky Kong wakes up Donkey Kong to tell him that all of his bananas have been taken. So then you begin the game. So there's a total of 6 worlds in the game. The Congo Bongo, which is the main world of World 1. The Mine World, I've forgotten the name. The Vine Valley, which is World 3. The Ice World. The Lab World. Oh, jeez. Sorry about that. Something got in my eye. Something got in my eye there. And the final world is the Chimp Caverns. I can't remember all of their names, but I know the specifics of them. So, what is Donkey Kong Country a difficult game? It can be. It can be a difficult game, depending on how good you are. If you're a first-time player, then maybe it'd be considered a challenging one, because let's remember, I'm talking about the days when I played these games for the first time. If I was to talk about, me playing them in today's generation, I'd be like, oh, they're so easy now. Like, yeah, I may still struggle with them from time to time, but they're super easy because I know the ins and outs of these games. So I'm basically talking about when I sat down and played these games for the very first time. So that is basically the gist of my history as well, that I'm talking about my experience with them for the first time. So Donkey Kong Country, with my experiences with it for the first time, I was off to a good start. The World 1 and World 2 weren't so bad. The only difficult level I found pretty difficult in World 2 was the minecart level. Now the minecart levels are very infamous in Donkey Kong Country. Either they are very good, or they can be incredibly bad and people hate them. Don't worry, you will understand. You will understand when we get to Donkey Kong Country Returns and Tropical Freeze. You will understand then. But until then, we're only just doing the original trilogy for the time being. My first main struggle as a kid was Boss 3, the B boss. Now, I don't normally find the Donkey Kong bosses that difficult. Maybe Donkey Kong Country 2. Maybe I found a few of their bosses pretty tricky. But some of the bosses can be pretty challenging. And also, the one big thing here is that the game over screens in Donkey Kong Country are possibly going to be the most brutal game over screens you would probably ever deal with. Now, I don't normally talk about game over screens. I never talked about them in the Dragon Ball games because there is none. But the Donkey Kong Country game over screens are so damn terrifying. The Donkey Kong Country game over screen, when I saw this for the first time as a kid, I actually cried. I felt really bad for getting a game over. So basically, I can't, flash an image on screen or show clips, because I also explained this, that I'm not a magician. I don't know how to do that. Well, at least not yet, I don't. Maybe in the near future I'll be able to understand how people do things with YouTube, but for now I'm just generic and sitting in front of a camera. But the game over screen in Donkey Kong Country was it was this really terrifying music. I would play it, but I'm not going to. Not because I'm afraid of it, but basically, Diddy Kong and Donkey Kong have like bandages all over them, and the background is like the jungle. It's like they've gone back home. It's like they're back home in Congo Bongo, and they're all full of bandages, and it's just really terrifying. It was just terrifying, And I have to say that the music that they played for the game over screen was terrifying. So, yeah. So yeah, the Donkey Kong game over screen was actually pretty terrifying, especially if you're young. Like it was really terrifying. Some people actually like a good game over screen. You know, I've heard a lot of people talk about how nostalgic some game over screens can be from their childhood, and I consider the Game Boy Advance game over screen of Donkey Kong Country very nostalgic to me, because I see that as one of the most terrifying game over screens of all the games I've ever played, of all of them I've ever played in my life. So, but if you thought number one's was pretty bad, number two's was even more scarier. But we'll get to number two in a minute. We'll get to number two when we get to it. So, I finally beat that B boss. So the game was only going to get harder from there. But in the end, I was able to complete it all. And I beat K. Rool, which there's actually a one big advantage that the Game Boy Advance version has over the Super Nintendo version. And I find this pretty funny because seeing how the Game Boy has some advantages, I guess it's because it's a Game Boy. When you get game over, they give you the option to save your game, like when you game over. But in the Super Nintendo versions, if you game over, you don't get a save point, because the Game Boy versions allow you to save your game whenever you want to. But the Super Nintendo versions, they have save points. In the Super Nintendo versions, there's save points. And when I talk about Donkey Kong Country 2, it's very different, because I played the Super Nintendo version of that game. So, what levels did I find really challenging? I'll go over my top 5 levels I found really challenging. I'm not going to include bosses, because bosses are a bit unfair. One of the tough stages in Donkey Kong Country 1 is Snow Barrel Blast from World 4. I consider this a pretty hard level, because it can be very hard, because you're slipping and sliding all over the place on the ice, and the vultures can really get in your way. So yeah, I consider Snow Barrel Blast one of the trickier levels. One of the other trickier levels I found pretty difficult was Blackout Basement. Minecart Madness is another one. Tanked Up Trouble is another difficult level. I remember not liking Tanked Up Trouble at all. I remember hating it as a kid. And obviously the last level, Platform Perils, was very difficult as well. As for the bosses, I'd say the B was the most difficult boss for me. Every other boss was either pretty easy or kinda meh. Like I didn't have a lot of difficulty with it. K. Rool was pretty challenging too, but I didn't really die on him that much. But anyway, as I was saying, speaking of the K. Rool boss fight in the Game Boy version, there is a huge difference in it. Like I said, in the Super Nintendo versions, you have to go back. Like I said, when you game over in the Super Nintendo versions, you go back to the certain checkpoint when you last saved from your save point. And as for the bosses, if you die at all in the bosses, no matter how far you get, you go back to the beginning. Now, I don't know if they ever did this in Donkey Kong Country 2 Game Boy version. I'm pretty sure they didn't. But in the Game Boy Advance version of Donkey Kong Country, if you die past the first credits, the fake credits that they put up, if you die then, the game will reboot you back to that point in the Game Boy version. But if you get to the fake game over, the fake credits in the Super Nintendo version and die, you'll go right back to the very beginning of the boss fight. So I got the superior version in my opinion. I have to say the Game Boy version is probably more superior, but people will definitely say the Super Nintendo version is better for nostalgia, but I consider the Game Boy version nostalgia to me. So overall, Donkey Kong Country is overall not a bad game. It's really fun. I love it. I love the challenge it has. So I definitely do recommend Donkey Kong Country 1 for everybody to play if you really want to. Oh boy. Now let's talk about Donkey Kong Country 2. My favorite game of the entire series. Of the trilogy, well, and of all time. And of all time, by the way. I've actually got the covers of Tropical Freeze and Returns. So I'll have these, sitting out here, and we can talk about them. But we'll get to them when we're done with these. So, Donkey Kong Country 2. Oh man, the nostalgia. Oh boy, I've got a big history with this one. If I'm gonna be honest with you guys, the biggest history that I had in the Donkey Kong Country series was Donkey Kong Country 2. You know how I said in the opening that the Donkey Kong Country series taught me a lot about gaming? This game, I swear to God, really showed me a lot about gaming. And more importantly, Donkey Kong Country 2, this was the game that made me become, one of those gamers that was so dedicated that he would not give up until he beats the game. Donkey Kong Country 2 is basically a lot harder than Donkey Kong Country 1. It starts off easy in World 1. World 2 is kind of medium. It's kind of like, it's almost difficult, but not really. World 3, oh god. World 3 was definitely up the ante. So in Donkey Kong Country 2, I'll talk about the story before we go over my main history with this game. The story of Donkey Kong Country 2, now like I said, I actually own the Game Boy version on my laptop because I've got like a Visual Boy that can play the Game Boy games. So in Donkey Kong Country 2, the story of this game is Donkey Kong gets kidnapped. K. Rool and his minions kidnap K. Rool, and you play as Diddy and Dixie, Diddy's girlfriend, to basically go rescue him. That's basically that's basically the plot in Donkey Kong Country 2. So yeah, you play as Diddy and Dixie in this one. World 1, super easy. The boss one of that world was a crow. He's easy. Cleaver the sword is kinda difficult, but is not too bad. And I didn't have a lot of issues with World 2 either. But now let's talk about World 3. Oh dear. Man. I've got a really funny story. I consider this funny because it's really embarrassing on my end. Barrel Bayou and Glimmer's Galleon, those levels were not too bad. They were not bad at all. They were like the first two stages. And you know how I said in the Super Nintendo versions you have to have a certain save point? There's like save checkpoints that you can save your game. So Wrinkly, the old lady, allows you to save your game if you have certain amount of banana coins. Like there are like these collectibles called banana coins that allow you to save your game at any point. So as long as you've got the money for it. The first time, it's free. The first time you go save, it's for free. But every other time, it's worth 2 coins. The third level. Crockhead Clamber. For someone like me who played this game for the first time, Crockhead Clamber, I swear, it was only World 3. I felt like this was the hardest level I have ever faced. Like, I game overed I didn't game over so much on this one. I game overed a couple of times. And by the way, the game over screen on Donkey Kong Country 2, if any of you guys are curious, since I talked about Donkey Kong Country 1's game over screen, the game over screen in Donkey Kong Country 2 is basically Diddy and Dixie in a prison. And the screen turns red. I don't know if that means they died, or either blood comes down from their face, or it's either sun setting, but again the music The music when you game over, it just makes you feel so damn bad. It just makes you feel so bad that you killed these monkeys. You killed Diddy and Dixie. You just feel so terrible. And don't get me wrong, and I had to see that game over screen so much in Donkey Kong Country 2, because I game overed so much. Like I said, this game taught me how to be a true damn gamer, to go through the end, to keep on battling, no matter how difficult the game was. Anyway, my story. I was struggling on Crockhead Clamber so badly. My brother, when he took over, instead of, helping me beat the level, he decides to go on Funky's Flights, which, if you pay money, you'll be able to fly to the worlds you've completed. What he did for me is that he grinded my life count to 99. He did the swanky bonus bananas that award you lives. Like, he grinded my life count to 99, the highest you could go. The highest you could go. He ranked he made sure my lives are at 99, so I could keep trying. So I could keep trying until I beat the level. And he wanted a turn eventually as well. So he gave me the controller back, and I went through the level and tried again. You're gonna think it's completely impossible to lose all 99 lives. You think something like that would be impossible. How would you lose? How could you potentially lose all your lives? 99, that's so many. There's no way you would die so many times in that level. Well, guess what? I did. I wasted all of my 99 lives on this one stage. No joke. I sucked so bad at this game when I was a kid. I lost 99 lives as a kid. As a kid, I lost 99 lives. How is that possible? So you would say it's absolutely impossible to lose 99 lives in one stage. And that is what I did as a kid. I lost 99 lives on one stage called Crockhead Clamber. And when my brother came back to have his turn, he saw my life count at 0. And he looked at me and he said, "How on earth could you lose all those lives?" And it was just so ridiculous. I think it's hilarious. I look back at it and I think it's probably one of the most hilarious things I've ever done as a kid. Sure, it's embarrassing. Sure, it may seem like I should be embarrassed and ashamed for doing that. But it was just so ridiculous that as a kid, I was so bad at this game, I lost all my lives. I lost all 99 lives. Honestly, I should feel ashamed. But at the same time, I look back at it and I just laugh. I just laugh back at my history of how pathetically terrible I was as a kid. Seriously, gaming just was so bad for me as a kid. But either way, I did eventually beat Crockhead Clamber. I did finally beat it. I was able to get through Rattle Battle pretty easily. It wasn't a bad stage. Slippery Climb was fine. No, Slippery Climb, that's from... No, that's a crash stage. That's a crash stage. That's from Crash Bandicoot. Slime Climb. That's the name of the level. Slime Climb, not Slippery Climb. That's Crash Bandicoot. Which I'll talk about the Crash Bandicoot series. Which I actually will talk about Crash Bandicoot, but I will not do that until I play Crash Bandicoot. It's about time. Anyway, I beat Slime Climb, and I got through the Bramble level. It wasn't so bad. Boss 3, Cudgel, wasn't so bad. World 4 was up, and I got through some of the levels pretty fine. Some of the levels weren't too bad. I didn't die very often in World 4. Bramble Scramble was kinda tricky, but it wasn't too bad that I couldn't complete it. Like Crockade Clamber. So I got through that level. I got through World 4 pretty fine. Boss 4, the bloody bee. I had freaking flash. Like I said, Donkey Kong Country 2 was the first Donkey Kong Country game I played. So when I played through Donkey Kong Country 1, I had flashbacks of the day I had to do the bee boss in Donkey Kong Country 2. The bee boss was a lot worse in Donkey Kong Country 2. I did die a couple of times, but it wasn't bad to the point where I got a game over like I did in Donkey Kong Country 1. So World 5 was up next. I did pretty well in World 5. I didn't game over much in World 5. I got to the save points in World 5. Haunted Hall is very infamous. Not a pretty difficult, but I didn't die as often. Gusty Glade, one of the other stages in World 5, is very infamous as well. I died a fair share on that one, but I was doing my absolute best to not game over as much as I did. And I got through Web Woods, which is considered the hardest stage of World 5, and I beat the Ghost boss, the Ghost Crow boss. Now we're going to talk about World 6, and oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. World 6 was just an absolute nightmare. Arctic Abyss, the first stage of World 6, wasn't so bad. Now, because I was a stupid little kid and I didn't understand much as a kid, there was one big major hurdle I had to deal with every time I game over. You know how, I saved my progress before the boss in World 5. So now I didn't have to do any of those levels again. Arctic Abyss isn't so hard. I died a couple times, but it's not so hard. Windy Well was the next stage I had the most difficult time with. Now, imagine imagine not being able to save your game in World 6, or because you haven't opened the save checkpoint for World 6. Imagine my reaction, knowing that I game overed in World 6, and I had to go all the way back to World 5, and I had to beat the Ghost Crow again. Imagine my reaction. I game overed so much in Windy Well. I basically knew the boss, the World 5 boss in Arctic Abyss in the back of my hand. Windy Well was just a terrible stage. Windy Well, for those who played Donkey Kong Country 2, would know what Windy Well is. It's where the wind lifts you up and you got to move out of the way from bees and dodge a lot of enemies. But in the end, I finally did beat Windy Well. Got my checkpoint. Got my check save point. I just call it a checkpoint because saving at a certain point is definitely a checkpoint to me. So I got my checkpoint in World 6. Castle Crush. Oh dear. My horrid game over screens were only going to get worse from here. Castle Crush was another difficult level. It was very, very difficult. I did eventually beat it, but it was so difficult. Clapper's Cavern was an easy stage. I got through that. Chainlink Chamber was kind of tricky, but not too bad. Toxic Tower. Oh, gee whiz. Toxic Tower, man. Toxic Tower is another one of those infamous hard stages that you have to get through. Very tricky, very difficult. Did I game over? A couple of times. But I did beat it. So, and here's a little bit of a... I'm actually glad I played the Game Boy version of Donkey Kong Country 2 as well. So, when I was a lot older, obviously. There's one big major change in World 6 from the Game Boy version to the Super Nintendo version. In the Super Nintendo version, there is no boss in World 6. You think the boss is K. Rool. You think the boss is K. Rool in World 6, because the World 6 is world's called K. Rool's Keep. So you think the boss stage is going to be K. Rool, but K. Rool's not there, and and you see Donkey Kong and you think you've saved him, but then you have to go to the Flying Croc, which is K. Rool's plane, his little plane, which is the final world. But in the Game Boy Advance version of World 6 and K. Rool's Keep, there is a boss. There is a boss in World 6 in the Game Boy version. His name's Kirazine. So I'll actually tell you guys how this boss works. In the Game Boy version of this boss, Kirazine is this big giant dragon that breathes fire at you. He also has the cleaver swords, which kind of makes me think that he's the one that's holding the sword in World 2. And you got to throw a cannonball in his face. You got to throw a cannonball in his face. It's a very tricky boss. I actually failed on that boss quite a lot when I played the Game Boy version. But nonetheless, there is a boss in World 6 in the Game Boy version. So I was definitely surprised by that. So we'll talk about World 7, which is the Flying Croc. Screech's Sprint, which is the Screech's Sprint, is the last level before the final boss. Pretty challenging, but not too bad that I wouldn't game over. So now we talk about the final boss, K. Rool. I died so much. I died so much in this boss fight. I felt like I died more times than I did in Crockade Commander. This, see what I'm telling you guys? This game really brought in that inner resilience in me. It really gave me that resilience that I would not give up. I should not give up. I'll never give up. It gave me that it gave me that spark that I just can't give up. I just can't give up. Like, I can't quit. I just can't quit this game. Like, it was so difficult. Like, my parents think I should have just completely quit playing the game. It's too hard. But I continued and continued and continued. This game taught me how to keep playing, no matter how hard it is. Just keep on going until you beat the game. And after a bazillion tries, and no matter how many game overs I got, when I beat K. Rool, when I finally beat the game, I basically did this. This was basically me after I beat the K. Rool boss. Ready? This was basically me when I beat the boss. Yep, this was me. That was me when I finally beat K. Rool. I leaned back on the floor with my hands in the air like, yes, finally. The satisfaction of beating this game, no matter how hard it was, it just made me happy. I love Donkey Kong Country 2 based off this alone. Based off the fact that this game was so hard, the inner body of me as a child just refused to give up. That's just how it was. Now, there are some secret levels in Donkey Kong Country 2 in the Lost World, but I call it the Secret World, where you can get some secret levels. There's like a Jungle Jinx level. Not so bad. One of my favorite levels. One of my personal favorite levels. Black Ice Battle wasn't too bad. Club of Carnage was actually kind of tough, but not too bad. Fiery Furnace, I had a little bit of trouble with that one. And Animal Antics, the final level ever, was very, very challenging. Now, I've got a little story that I want to tell you guys about this level, about Animal Antics specifically. A long time ago, when obviously this is me talking about when I was a little kid, when I was playing this, me and my brother liked to wrestle a lot. Like, if I wasn't playing games, we just wrestle on the trampoline or something. One time, we didn't wrestle on the trampoline. We wrestled on our parents' bed. We wrestled on our parents' bed one day, and my brother chokeslammed me, and apparently, well, I shouldn't say apparently because this did happen. My brother chokeslammed me. It was soft. It was a soft chokeslam, but my brother chokeslammed me so softly, it somehow broke the parents' bed. No joke. He chokeslammed me, and it broke the bed. It broke the bed, and we freaked. We freaked out. I ran back to my game. Because my brother wanted me to have a break from it for a while. So he chokeslammed me on our parents' bed, and it was broken, and our parents were so pissed off. And our parents were so pissed off. It was just... I consider this a very hilarious story. It was very hilarious. But yeah, I was playing this stage when this happened. I was playing this stage when it happened because I had the game on pause when I was doing the Animal Antics level. So yeah, this level... So Animal Antics was infamous for the day that my brother broke my parents' bed when we were little. It was very funny. But I did beat Animal Antics. Now, there is one final boss battle with K. Rool in the Lost World, but I never got it. I never got it as a kid because I never got all the bonuses. Because to unlock the true final boss, you had to get all the bonus coins. You had to get all of the bonuses. And because I didn't get all the bonuses as a kid, I never unlocked the true final boss, which is another battle with K. Rool. But I have seen it. I have seen it on the internet, and holy cow, it looks even more harder than the one I did originally. But yeah, that's my history with Donkey Kong Country 2. Yeah, this game really brought out something in me as a kid, and I can't thank this game enough. I can't thank this game enough for helping me understand that games aren't going to be easy. Donkey Kong Country 3, I had a bit of difficulties with this one as well because I never even knew this one existed. No joke, I had no idea this game existed. I remember getting this for Christmas. I can't remember exactly what year, but I remember getting this for Christmas. And I never even knew a Donkey Kong Country 3 existed. Well, should have known because there was a Donkey Kong Country 1 and a Donkey Kong Country 2, but I didn't know there was a third one. So the third one you play as Dixie and a new monkey named Kitty. Very interesting. So did I have a difficult time with this one? Yeah, I did, because there were some levels I had a difficult time with. But there were so many damn worlds in Donkey Kong Country 3. Now, I know a couple of worlds aren't there in the Super Nintendo version, but holy freaking cow, there's so many worlds in this one. There was like 2, 4, 6, 7, plus the final world, which is 8, and then you got the Lost World, which is 9. There was like freaking 9 worlds. Jesus, it was a really long game. World 1, simple and easy. I got through it no problem. World 2, simple and easy. I got through it. But the one thing I did struggle on was the World 2 boss, because I didn't know how to hurt him. Well, there's a bloody barrel, but I didn't know you had to hit him in the head with it. But as soon as I knew that, it was a pretty easy boss. World 3, it depends on which one you want to go for, but as I said, I'm not going to go through all the levels specifically. World 3 was a little bit more challenging, but not too difficult. World 4 was a little bit more challenging, but not too tough. World 5 was a bit more challenging, got through it just fine. World 6 was a lot more challenging. And by the way, I did game over in this one too. Now, I hate to say this to you, but you know how I told you Donkey Kong Country 1 and Donkey Kong Country 2 had the most terrifying game over screens, in my personal opinion. If you game over in Donkey Kong Country 3, normally you're supposed to feel bad. when you get a game over screen. Donkey Kong Country, if you've seen Donkey Kong Country 3 game over screen, this one made me laugh more than it made me cry or made me feel bad for the Kongs. It was just so damn funny. It was just so funny. If you game over in this game, Kitty and Dixie are put in a baby's pen. In like a little baby pen that little babies go in. Like they're in timeout. No joke. I laughed my ass off at this when I was a kid. This was hilarious. I laughed my ass off. I was like, how, like, it was just so hilarious. And Kitty's just sitting there, like, all depressed. Well, you see Dixie in the back. She's just like this. She's just has her arm crossed, and she's just pissed. That it was such a hilarious game over screen. It was just the most hilarious game over screen I've ever seen in my life. Game over screens are supposed to be scary and they're supposed to make you feel bad, but I more felt bad for Dixie because she was just in the back all pissed. Oh my god, it was just so funny. But were there any stages that gave me any trouble? Well, yeah, there were a couple. There was one called, I can't remember the names of the, I can't remember most of the names of the Donkey Kong Country 3 levels. One level in particular is where you gotta play as the purple parrot, and you're in the caves, and you're in the caves, and you gotta throw barrels at bees. I had a difficult time with this one because I freaking hated those copters. You know those copter enemies that spin around and you can't kill them? Yeah, they were such a real pain in the ass. They were so... They really made me angry. Like, I hated those things. Another level I remember having a difficult time with... And this one was only in the Game Boy version. Because I know this is not in the Super Nintendo version. There's a level called Razor Leaf or something Reef, and there's wind underwater. It's like Gusty Glade but underwater. Oh jeez, that level gave me a headache. I hated it so much. I hated that level so much. And another level I struggled on was Lightning Lookout, I think. Like, there were not a lot of levels that gave me issues. It was more like those kind of levels that made me game over. Another level I had a difficult time with was when you're playing as On Guard and you're underwater and the whole level goes black and you gotta hit this fish that makes the lighting go up. Yeah, I had a difficult time with that one too. Other than that, there were not a lot of levels I had a difficult time with. But the bosses were not so bad. The World 1 boss is pathetic. It's just a giant barrel and you gotta throw bugs at it. Boss 2 was pretty simple. Boss 3, I had no freaking idea how to kill it. Boss 3, I had no freaking idea how to kill it because I didn't know Ellie the elephant, which is one of the new animal buddies in that game, could spit water out of its trunk. Because you had to put water in its trunk and then shoot water at it. Didn't even know that because I didn't even know that because the game never told me anything about that. And that's another thing about Donkey Kong Country. There's animal buddies as well. Donkey Kong Country 1, there's Randy, Espresso, Winky the Frog, and On Guard, and Squawks the Parrot. Well, game number 2 had Randy, On Guard, Squitter, Rattly the Snake, Squawks, and Quarks the Purple Parrot. And number 3 had Ellie the Elephant, Squitter, On Guard, and another bird, I don't know the name of it, and Quarks. So there's animals in it too. So that's pretty fun. Yeah. And there's also these collectibles called banana coins as well. And by the way, The version of Donkey Kong Country 3 I played, by the way, is the Game Boy version, because my Nintendo was long gone by then. So I was playing the Game Boy version. So yeah, I had the extra world. So, which was a bit of a pain. But I did beat World 3 boss. The World 4 boss was not too difficult. Boss 5 was a snowman. You just gotta throw snowballs at him. Hit him in a certain point. Boss 6 was a lobster, or like some kind of, I think it was like a lobster or an octopus. Like it had, I don't know the name of it. I think it's called Croctopus or something. And the other world that was only exclusive to the Game Boy had a giant clam thing that opens and closes. So yeah, that boss was pretty tricky, but I got through that. And the final boss is obviously K. Rool. And what's the Lost World like? Well, the Lost World is actually a bit of a pain. There's a stage where you gotta run as Ali, which wasn't too bad. Stage 2 was a level where you go up these cliffs and you gotta bounce off these barrels. Pretty challenging level, but it wasn't too bad. Jeez, the two stages I hated the most in the Lost World was the level with the twins, those two muscle twins, and Swoopy Salvo. Oh god, I hated that. I hated those levels. And the final level was Rocket Rush. A lot of people consider that the hardest stage of all Donkey Kong. I have to disagree. It was hard, yes, but I wouldn't consider it the hardest level of all of Donkey Kong. I'd consider, if you were to ask me the most hardest level of all time in Donkey Kong, I'd say Animal Antics and Toxic Tower from Donkey Kong 2 were the hardest levels of all time in Donkey Kong. So yeah, there you go. So that's basically Donkey Kong Country 3, and now we can finally get on to these games. Donkey Kong Country Returns on the 3DS and Tropical Freeze. But first we'll talk about Returns, because Returns, I knew Donkey Kong Country Returns was a thing, but it was on the Wii U. I know I didn't own a Wii U. And I remember one day finding it. This is when I was buying games for myself. And I remember having some money on me. And I went to the shops. I was on excursion, by the way. I was on excursion with my school kids. And I remember coming across this in one of the game stores. And I had enough money for it. So I was like, you know what? I never played Donkey Kong Country Returns, so I'll play it. Donkey Kong Country Returns was actually a pretty difficult game. But you want to know something? Despite how difficult it was, I never game overed in it. I never game overed in it. Same thing with Tropical Freeze. Like, the games are hard, but I never game overed in them. Do you want to know why that is the case? Because in those two games, there's a feature that allows you to buy lives. No joke, you can go to like a shop. In Returns it was called Cranky Shop, and in Tropical Freeze it's called Funky Shop, I think. And you can just buy a ton of lives. You can just buy a ton of lives and you won't game over. So yet, this time, little old Patrick didn't lose all of his lives in those games. They were they were challenging, but they didn't make me, really ragey and make me game over. Anyway, in Donkey Kong Country Returns, K. Rool isn't the bad guy anymore. The bad guy of Returns are these Tikis. I think the game tells you about it too. Or no, not really. Nope, it doesn't even say. Wow, that's awesome. And that's awesome. And look at that. It doesn't even have an instruction manual. And there's the game right there. Doesn't even have an instruction manual. Awesome. But yeah, I think the enemies are called Tikis. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, I think the enemies are called Tikis. And yeah, I don't really have much to say about Returns because I've only played it a handful of times and I don't really remember much about it. I know some of the stages were pretty challenging, And you know how I talked about the minecart stages in the previous games? Well, in Donkey Kong Country Returns, this bloody game is absolutely obsessed with minecarts. There were so many minecart levels in Returns, and there was these other levels called rocket stages, where you ride on a rocket, and if you get hit at all, you're dead in one hit. That was how that was how bad these minecart levels were in Returns and Tropical Freeze. If you crash at all, you're dead in one hit. So in Returns, you only play as Donkey Kong. It goes back to Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong, but you can't play as Diddy Kong. In Returns, you only play as Donkey Kong, but you have Diddy Kong as like an extra hit point, as like a couple of extra hit points, and he can glide for you. He has like a rocket pack on his back, and you can like glide over certain gaps. And yeah, that's basically what Diddy Kong does in this game. He's got like a rocket pack. And apparently the rocket pack is a reference to, what's the game called? Donkey Kong 64. Apparently it's a reference to Donkey Kong 64. And as for Tropical Freeze, I did finish this game. I haven't replayed it lately. I think I should definitely do a Let's Play of it one day on my Switch. Whoa. Tropical Freeze, you play as Donkey Kong. He's the main one you play as. But this time you have Dixie, Cranky, and Diddy as backup buddies. And the enemies in this game, I can't remember exactly who the main baddies were in this game. I don't think it were the Tikis again. I think the main bad guys of this one were ice monsters, I think. I can't remember. But yeah, I haven't played through it enough to remember. But yeah, Tropical Freeze, pretty hard game, but I was able to get through it with no game overs. So yeah, that's my history with Donkey Kong, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Jesus Christ, this video is long. It's very long. But anyway, if you guys did enjoy this video, hit that thumbs up, comment your opinions down below. I recommend playing Donkey Kong Country, guys. I recommend it. They're a lot of fun. They're challenging, but they're very fun. So anyway, thank you all so much for joining me for this episode of my history with, and I will see you all next time. The next games I'm going to be talking about on this channel may not come for a while, because I'm thinking of either getting the new Mario games that have been put out on the Switch. Well, they're not new, they're basically games from the past, but I'm hoping to get the Mario games so I can share my history with Mario, and I want to save Crash Bandicoot until I get Crash Bandicoot 4. It's about time. So could Pokemon be next? Pokemon I've had the most history with, so I want to save that for later. I don't know if there's any more games that I remember playing as a kid, even if they're one-offs or, you know, a couple of games I remember. Maybe I'll talk about those. But anyway, guys, thank you all so much for joining me for this episode of My History With. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you all next time.